Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be taking a look at some of the liquid products from Chanel. We're going to do a little get ready with me. And so just kind of playing around with some of their liquid products. In particular, we're looking at the Ombre Premier Lock in Milky Way from this year's holiday collection. This is a gorgeous product, but I feel like it hasn't really gotten that much attention. It is one that you have to work quickly with. And then the Rouge Allure Lock 95 Spell from this year's holiday collection as well. So those are going to be our two prominent items, but we're also going to be mixing in some kind of like forgotten favorites from Chanel. Things like the Sublimage highlighter and the Rosé light drops and a few other like favorite products. Some of them are newer, like the Brun Talpa and the Jouer Contrast Intense blushes. And then we have some older ones like the aforementioned items as well. So let me know what you think and let's go ahead and get ready. So we're going to be doing a get ready with me with a lot of Chanel products. We've got some older items as well as some new holiday items. And the key here is that we're focusing on liquids. And we also have the cream blushes that are new. So let's go ahead and then get started. I'm going to bring you in a little bit closer and we're going to start off with a primer. So this isn't a full face primer. These are the Chanel Rosé Light Drops. And personally, I really like these to give a little bit of glow underneath the eyes. So this is what it looks like here. And I'm just going to take a little bit and kind of tap this on underneath. And this is kind of like primer for my under eye area. Another thing that I like to do with these is I mix this directly with my concealer oftentimes to not only give a little bit of brightening, but just to like, if I have one that's a little bit too warm, this adds a little bit of coolness to it as well. So it adds a little bit of brightening. This is also really nice as a luminizer on the skin if you're looking for something light, a light pink. So we've got that there. I'm taking the Le Beige primer that came out last year this is the Icy Beige. And I'm going to just go ahead and put this on the remainder of my face. But we're going to go ahead and add a luminizer. Now, I actually really hope that Chanel brings these back because these primers are really nice, but they sold out so quickly. And I'd love to see them come back permanently. So I'm going to take a little bit of the liquid illuminator. So I haven't used this in a while, so I wanted to kind of bring this out again. And I like to put this one on more so underneath foundation. So I'm going to take a little bit of this and kind of just tap it on the high points of my cheeks. You can see it has a nice, lovely golden hue to it with some shimmer. And you can see it's like a peachy gold, not too yellow. So I think it does work really well for my skin tone as well. And this is actually beautiful on top of foundation. If we need a little more highlighter, maybe we'll add some of this. But this is the Sublimage Le Concentré Lumière. So this is the shade here. And you can see there is some glitter in there. Now, as you can see, my face is very luminous. We're going to go in with the Chanel Sublimage Concealer, and I have shade 02. And I'm just going to dab a little bit of this under my eyes. And then for foundation, we're actually going to go with a lighter one today. We're going to use the Chanel No. 1. And let me first, I'm going to let this sit for about 10-15 seconds and then blend this out with a brush. So this is the BK Beauty and Nikki LaRose N16 brush. So I'm just going to use this now. I did let it sit for a little bit and kind of blend this out. And it looks like I used a little bit too much concealer. With the Chanel Sublimage, you get great coverage without cakiness, but you really don't need a lot of product. And I definitely used a little bit much, so I'm blending some out with my finger as well. And you can see though that you get really nice coverage with it. And this shade, the 02, is a great shade for my skin tone. It's a little bit, light, which gives me a little bit of that brightening effect, but yet it blends well with my skin tone. So you can see that I have a little added luminosity under the eyes from the Rosé Light Drops. It peeks through a bit. Now for foundation, we're going to take the No. 1 to Chanel, and I have shade BD01. Just gonna put some of this on the back of my hand. All right, so this is it. Gonna go ahead and I'm just tapping a little bit on. And for brushes, I'm using this one, which came with one of the Chanel. This must have been one of the Chanel Sublimage foundations, probably the Le Teint. And so I'm dabbing it over the area with the illuminator so I don't spread that out too much. All right, so this is one coat. We're gonna add a little bit more, but I'm gonna back you up so you can see the full effect. All right, so you can see I definitely still have luminosity here, and I'm just adding a little bit. You can see that although it looks like I'm adding a lot of product here, it's actually pretty sheer. I blended it out on my hand first, so I'm actually not picking up too much product there. And I'm doing more of a dabbing motion here, just to make sure that I don't spread any of that glitter underneath. But you can see that you're not really gonna see much of the glitter, but you do get a little light reflection. So this is the BD01. So I think we're gonna go in with blushes. I'm gonna take, these are the Jus Contrast Intense, the new cream powder blushes. And this is the Beige Eclatant, which is a bit warmer. I'm gonna put this kind of on the back of my cheekbones, and then the Rose Ardent, which is going to be more prominent. So I'm gonna bring you in a little closer again. I'm taking the Esom T47. This is their new remastered one. And I'm gonna dip into the Beige Eclatant first. And before I put that on, I'm just gonna kind of dab it on my hand, make sure it's not too intense. And it's not. That's one of the great things about these blushes. You know, they're very buildable. I really like these cream to powder blushes. They have a very satiny texture on the skin. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of that beige shade there. And then we're gonna go in with the Rose Ardent. So here's the rose. And let's just pop this on here. So you can see this one's a little bit more pigmented. So I'm just wiping off the excess on my microfiber cloth and just gonna kind of blend those two shades together there. All right, so this is the blush. And at this point, I don't think we need any additional highlighter, but we'll see at the end if we need to add any more. Now, I just want to swatch these real quickly while we're up close. Sometimes those up close swatches I think are pretty helpful. You can see the texture as well as the color, I think, pretty clearly. So you can see when you actually buff that out, you get more of a soft satin sheen to it without any glitter. So that was the Beige Eclatant. This is the Rose Ardent. And you can see that this is a medium tone, neutral rose. It has a little bit of warmth to it. They don't really have a great lighter cool tone option. This is the closest. So I do like this one a lot, but it does skew a little warm. So this is the look so far, and I think from this point it can really be dressed up or dressed down, and it's really going to depend on what you decide to do with the eyes or so forth. If I were to keep this very light and bright, I think I would probably just go in with some highlighter on the eye, perhaps even something like the Diamond Dust, and then take something like the Milky Way as a liner. And then I think if I want to go more dramatic, we'll use it all over. You know what? Let's just try both. All right, we're going to start off with the Diamond Dust. And you can see this part here, I have not touched the overspray yet. So this part where you can see it looks a little lighter and you have more of that pink reflect, that does not have the overspray on it anymore. That's the section I'm using. And we're just going to do this on one eye. And just get a little bit of the highlighter on here. So I think this highlighter looks nice on the eye, but honestly, it's not my favorite on the eye because I do think it looks a little powdery as well. So I prefer this straight up as a highlighter. And then I want something a little thicker for eyeliner. I really like taking this Esom V27. This is the older brush. And I'm going to take the Ombre Premier Lock in Milky Way. This is number 47. So I'm going to put a bunch of this on the back of my hand. And I'm just going to run the tips of the bristles in here and kind of line my eyes. So you can see I can really buff that out so I can get a very light, soft line. And you can see that the color there can really be much more subtle. Blending this with the actual highlighter, I like the effect. I like the effect of the pink with it. And you can see using a fluffier brush like this, you can really kind of feather out the shade and make it not so impactful, which is a great way to use this liquid for daytime. Do you need to do a wing or something? No, but I just wanted to kind of emphasize that color. So this is an option. And if you want it more subtle, definitely go in with a thinner brush, or, you know, just kind of let it smudge out originally. So for the other side, I'm taking the new Esom V27. You can see it's a very different brush. This has that 3D shape. And so because of that, this is actually better for laying out product. You can still use the tip the way I did, but I do find the older version is better for lining versus the new one, just because you don't have quite as much structure at the tip as you do with the older version. But we're going to blend this out on the eye. So I'm going to put a swatch here on my hand again, and we're going to take the new one and kind of start off by buffing this into the eye. So you can see you can really get a sheer light look with this, which you could use as a base as well. And I'm not being like super neat or anything with this, but you can see if you blend this out, you have kind of this like dark gray base with a little bit of like pink and purple shimmer. We're going to build on this. And I think I need to get more product on my hand. This one's a little bit too dry. So if you spread it on your hand like I did, and actually kind of spread out the surface area, it does dry pretty quickly. So you have to kind of work fast. And you can see as it's drying, I'm starting to make a mess now. It's like looking a little patchy. I think honestly, I just need to kind of, I could fix this, I think a little bit. Let's try it. But I think really I should start over here. So there's that with a brush, but I'm just gonna kind of just add a little bit on my finger so that I can kind of just get that color a little bit more consistent here. So that's the color a little bit more consistently. This is put on very messily, but you know, this is just kind of to give you an idea. I'm going to take these off and we're going to go in and add a little bit, a better version of this. But first, this is what it looks like from a distance. So let me remove this. I'll be right back. All right, so one of the things I like to do with the liquids is use a base of powders. So this is one of the Chanel singles in Brun Talpa. And you can see it is kind of a soft shimmery taupe. This is number 236. This is going to be a satin finish. I'm going to kind of buff this in all over and in the crease, and then we're going to accentuate with Milky Way. So I'm taking the SUQQU KZ6, which one of my favorite one and done shadow brushes, but unfortunately it is discontinued. But you can see how easily I can just kind of cover that whole area. And I don't have too much product. It's like just enough. And this adds as a nice base to make everything smooth in case you have any like differences in like hydration and stuff on your lids. This helps apply the liquids a little bit more smoothly. You could use a primer as well, but I find the tacky primers, you know, those don't work as well. You want like a smoother silicone based primer before these. But today I just trying not to put those on. My eyes are a bit sore from all the recent eye swatches. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put Milky Way on. So you can see that's Milky Way with the Brun Talpa. And let me get a brush. Okay, going back with the V27 that we just used. All right, so you can see I went in lightly there, And I'm going to take a little bit of this and build up, but I'm making sure that this base layer is very dry. I'm taking the Rephr 13 Max and there's nothing on it. And I'm just kind of going into the crease and buffing this a little bit. It's not going to move too much of the liquid, but it helps a little bit, I think. You can see a little bit came off. All right, so now I'm just going to add a little bit more and see how this goes. All right, so I'm just kind of letting that sit and dry a little, and then I'm going to go in with this Bruntalpa with the 13 Max from Rephr again. And I'm just going to kind of buff this into the crease and go over those like rougher edges. All right, so that's it, but we have to do the inner corner still. So let's see, maybe we should try this. So I'm gonna put a little bit of the Sublimage Lumiere here. I'm taking the BK Beauty 204, which is just a really small little brush. And let's go ahead and put this in the inner corner. I'm not sure if it has enough opacity here. No, I think I want something different. Just gonna even out both sides first, but I think maybe we'll go in with a more opaque powder there. I'm actually gonna go ahead and take this single from Chanel. This is Jade Facette number 222. Let's see how this looks. All right, I like that better. I'm going to go on the lower lash line with the Jade Facette for the first half of the eye. And then we'll use Milky Way for the other part. So I'm just gonna get a little dab of Milky Way on this. And I don't want it to be heavy. So I'm going to kind of buff it out a little bit here. Start this end, and that's actually plenty of product. So I'm wiping the rest off the brush, and I'm just gonna kind of spread that out. And that's it. All right, so this is the finished look. I just have to clean up around the eyes a little bit. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more of the Chanel Sublimage concealer and just sort of clean up a little. And then we're gonna add mascara. All right, so for mascara, I'm taking the new Chanel Rouge Allure in Amethyst for the upper lashes. And I really like using the light purple, the Lila, for the lower lashes. So that's what I'm going to be doing. But you can see that the dark purple has enough, it's deep enough that it's adding the right emphasis to your lashes, but it adds a little self-interest as well. So the Lila I like for the lower lashes because it just adds a little bit of color. So it makes things look complete, but it's also a little brightening. So I think it brightens the under eye area a bit. All right, so this is the eye look from a distance. I'm just gonna do my brows and then we're gonna move on to lips. All right, so for lips, we're going in with the Rouge Allure Lock in 95 Spell, which, I mean, look at this beautiful red. I think also a very light shade would be beautiful here, but I really wanted to pair this red with the Milky Way. So let's go in a bit closer. All right, so you can see as I'm applying the Rouge Allure Lock, what I like to do is apply a light layer, smoosh my lips together and kind of disperse that evenly, and then let it sit for a minute. I kind of like to let it kind of dry and solidly set. Then I'm going in with the lip pencil, and this is shade 194 Rouge Noir, and I'm just outlining the lips to add a little bit of depth. It's definitely deeper than this red shade, but it adds a little depth and dimension to the outline of my lips. And then after that, I'm going in with the lock again for the final layer. All right, so this is the final look then. So I don't think we need any other highlight or anything. I think we have enough underneath the foundation. Let me know what you think. So this is the final look then. And I have to say, I think this is like a fantastic holiday red. I really love the tone of this lipstick. Here it is. This is 95 Spell. I think it was 95. And yes, and I just think it has the right amount of burgundy to add some depth and color to it. It's got some cool tones in it, but it's not overly cool. I think it's such a beautiful classic red, like that deep blood red. I love the color. So whether it's paired with something else, I just think it's like such a beautiful classic red shade. I love it. The eyes, you can see, you know, they turned out okay. They're not great. I could have, you know, I am not super skilled with the liquids, and this one in particular, it does dry pretty quickly. So I feel like for me, it's easier to do it off camera and get a better look because I can rush and go a little bit faster, which I think is what's needed with this particular formula. So, you know, I think if you're using this at home, the formula is really nice and it's easier to apply more smoothly than what I did because I have to do this on camera, I'm just a little bit slower. So I think that's kind of an issue there, but I think overall it turned out nicely. And I do really like pairing it with a powder shadow in general, but I think I could have done a better job in the crease area in particular. So overall though, I'm really happy with the way everything turned out. I love the cream blushes. I think they give a really nice natural flush. And some of these blushes, I mean, they call them cream blushes. They're really more of a gel powder type texture. But I think, you know, some of them like the Granate shade, those look so beautiful underneath foundation as well, you know, to give a nice soft berry look. And that's the other one that I was considering using today. So I think overall, you know, we have some really great shades. I do want to just swatch, this is the lipstick. I'm going to swatch the lip pencil I used right next to it so you can see the difference. And you can see it's definitely a very different shade. It has a lot more purple in it. It's deeper. It's more of your like burnt cherry, dark cherry kind of color compared to the brighter red. But I love having that contrast with lips. I never match my like brighter red lipsticks with a brighter lip pencil. I always go for something with more depth and contrast. So I hope this has been helpful, particularly the up close swatches. Let me know if that helped you like see the texture and so forth pretty well. But I think it was a lot of fun playing with these liquids. I feel like these liquid products from Chanel, they don't really get that much attention, but they're definitely well deserving. I love the Ombre Premiere locks, which are for the eye. You know, I have had, some of them have been hit or miss over the years, but in general, I do really like their formula. But the Rouge Allure locks are one of my favorite lip products from Chanel. I think they're such a great formula and they just really need to expand their shade range. But I think they're a great product and they are fantastic for reds. And I think this shade in particular is a fantastic holiday red. So let me know what you think of everything we used here today and your thoughts. Please share down below in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in and I hope you have a wonderful day.